That was the lesson of the pandemic. It's inevitable. Eventually, we're all gonna go. Don't worry, not all my materials is uplifting. But we're all gonna go, and then our loved ones will do our funeral. That's harsh, right? The people closest to the deceased are put in charge. It's like, we know you're in a very vulnerable state, but time to host a party. They're in shock. Everyone at a funeral's in shock. If you're not a little surprised at a funeral, you're the murderer. It was so unexpected. Not for me. People are caught off guard at a funeral, but I want my funeral to be a total surprise. Like when I die, I don't want anyone to be told. I just want Evites to go out to friends. Last minute party, come on over, big announcement. And then when my friends arrive, Jim's dead. Oh. Is there anything I can do? Come look at the body. Because that's essentially what happens at funerals. Come look at the dead body. I'll take your word for it. What is this, Weekend at Bernie's? Have you been to an open casket funeral? His memory will live on in my nightmares. At Catholic funerals, you're supposed to kneel next to the casket and say a prayer. That prayer goes like this. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. It's gotta be long enough. Yeah. Because the body looks weird in the casket. It does. They're always overdressed. We put men in business suits. What do they have, an interview? Dress for the afterlife you want. People usually say, he looks like he's resting, or he passed out at an office Christmas party. Why is he wearing a tie? If you want me to rest in peace, bury me in pajamas. In preparation for the funeral, we put makeup on the dead body. When did Grandpa start wearing eyeliner? There's special funeral makeup. You never see commercials for that makeup. Maybe that corpse is still alive. Or maybe it's a Maybelline. For when you want to look drop dead gorgeous. That's someone's job, to put makeup on a dead person's face. That couldn't have been the goal. Somehow the dream of, I want to work in fashion became, I'll put blush on the corpse. It is an art form. It's impressive. I'm surprised it's not a reality show. Pimp My Corpse. I have my own idea for a reality show. I think it's a winner. Let me pitch it to you. My show would open with 2 identical bodies lying next to each other. One of the bodies would be dead, the other cake. Okay? The show's called Dead or Cake. And then a loved one would be given a cake knife. Susie loved her grandma, but how well did she know her? Will she cut on the delicious red velvet cake or her nana? Let's find out. Susie, you may cut the... Oh, Susie. This is usually the point when people ask, well, when's he gonna do the food jokes? I thought he was gonna... Dead or Cake is a food joke. Funerals are weird. Open casket, closed casket. I want to be sitting up in my casket. You know, just sitting there. Eyes open. I'd like to be positioned near the doorway so when people enter the room, they're like, what the hell? I'd rig it so occasionally my hand would go up. I definitely want there to be crumbs on my chest. Did he eat recently? I'd pre-record an announcement. Thanks for coming to my funeral. Don't be sad, I'm in a better place. Just kidding, I'm right here. And then, I don't know if this is in poor taste, but at that moment, I'd like my body to burst into flames. I want to be cremated, but at my funeral. You know, something for everyone, a little surf and turf. We've all been to funerals. We've all lost someone, still had their number in our phone. You just can't bring yourself to delete it, but they're never gonna call. It would be weird if they did. Grandma? Stop looking at that filth on the internet. We lost my aunt several years ago, and eventually someone else was assigned her phone number, and we know that because my aunt was part of our family text chain. And at one point, a random guy chimed in kind of annoyed. Why am I part of this text chain? So I responded the only way I could. I said, because you're my aunt and we love you. And he was like, bro, I'm not your aunt. And I was like, you haven't changed a bit. What a character, right?
Twice a year I travel, I tour with my kids. We get on a tour bus and we go to like some destination. Last spring break we went to Mount Rushmore. That's the most applause Mount Rushmore's ever gotten. I feel sorry for Mount Rushmore. You know, people used to go there on their honeymoon, and now I bring up Mount Rushmore and people look at me like I'm talking about a TV show that was canceled 10 years ago. Is that still going on? Yeah, it's a mountain. It's still going on. And you know what? It's beautiful. And the Black Hills of South Dakota are, you know, they're sacred to the Lakota Indians. And out of respect, our government carved 4 white guys into one of the mountains. This land is sacred. How about that mountain? Very sacred. Good, we got an idea. Ding, 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 ding. Another gift for you guys. Ding, 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 ding. These guys were all about freedom. Ding, ding, ding. Especially the 2 guys that own slaves. But there's so much stimulation in our lives. We don't know what to make of 4 faces on a mountain. You know, my kids didn't know what to think. They were like, is one of the eyes gonna blink? And I was like, I don't know, take a look, because I'm never coming back here. And I was with a friend, and we drove by this schoolhouse, and my friend was like, you see that schoolhouse? That's the schoolhouse where they wrote Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I was like, am I supposed to be impressed by that? And he is, well, it is a national landmark. And I'm like, are people going, come on, kids, let's go see where they wrote the worst song ever. But what I didn't realize is that Mary Had a Little Lamb, in its day, was a huge hit. It was huge. It was like their Uptown Funk. Which makes you wonder, what was going on in the 1830s? Have you heard that song, Mary Had a Little Lamb? It's the song of our generation. It's so complex. It's about this girl, Mary, who had a lamb that was little. The song explains it better. I'm not doing it justice. My friend told me, he goes, you know, that song's based on a true story. I'm like, well, I hope so. Because that would be the worst made-up story ever. How bad were the other songs of that era? Johnny has a little smallpox. We'll all be dead by 30. And of course, my favorite, why does everyone smell like poo? Jim, don't do that. When we were in Erie, Pennsylvania, we went on a pirate boat ride, which was pretty authentic, because when I think of Lake Erie, I think of all them pirates storming the shores of Western Pennsylvania. There were like 50 kids. They were all dressed like pirates. I felt like I was at a children's Jimmy Buffett concert. And I tell you, those kids were having the time of their lives. Kids love to dress like pirates. The murderers and rapists that pirates were. And we think it's adorable. It's so cute. He looks just like one of those sociopaths who terrorize the Caribbean. We let our kids dress like murderers. Darth Vader, that genocidal lunatic. It's fun. The devil, it's cute. Hitler, no. No parent wants to explain that one. Why is your boy dressed like Hitler? He's fascinated with the Third Reich. He gets it from his father. His father's man cave is all Hitler swag. I'm Irish, but I have blonde hair. Supposedly the only reason the Irish have blonde or red hair is because the Vikings invaded, pillaged, and probably other stuff. Those Vikings, the Scandinavians, I don't know if you've been to Sweden, it's like a whole country of Scarlett Johanssons. If I was in Ireland at that time, I would have been, oh no, some Viking lady's coming to pillage me. I guess I'll hide on this bed covered in rose petals.
Hopefully she can help me put together that table. I would do anything for my wife. I'm aware of that. But there are people that are more romantic. Prince Edward abdicated his right to the English throne for the woman he loved. Isn't that unbelievable? He was forced to choose between the woman he loved or being King of England, and that idiot chose the broad. Now, I'm sure in that moment it was the right decision, and I'm happily married, but even in the best relationship, each person has thoughts where they go, I've made an enormous mistake. But we never thought I could have been King of England. Do you think Prince Edward really ever got over that? Every time he had to empty the trash, he's like, the King of England doesn't have to empty trash. The King of England can chat with his ex on Facebook. Can you imagine what kind of news event that abdication was in the UK? There must have been, he's gone mad. We should get him to hospital. Jim, your British accent is getting worse. Why wouldn't you take 5 minutes and learn a good accent? It's just lazy. Didn't feel any pressure to do anything. Some places you feel like a pressure to do something, like St. Louis, you gotta go see our arch. I don't want to. Go look at our arch. Why don't I just go to McDonald's and see 2? San Antonio, you gotta go to the Alamo. I was gonna nap. Oh, you gotta stand outside in blistering heat and look at a building. Can't I just say I forgot about the Alamo? You know who didn't want to go to the Alamo? The people who died at the Alamo. I bet their last thought was, I wish I didn't go to the Alamo. I thought it was a rental car company. Can you imagine that level of bravery? 187 Texans fought 2,000 of Santa Anna's finest Mexican troops, and at one point those 187 Texans just decided, we should just fight till we all die. Like if I was there, I would have been like, excuse me, I love the idea of Texas too, but have you tried this Mexican food? It is delicioso. I propose we remember the guacamole. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I did some shows in Europe, and I only bring that up to try and impress you. But I flew over, really the only way to get across the Atlantic. You rarely run into someone that's like, you know what, I paddleboard. It was a great arm workout. I flew over. That transatlantic flight wipes people out. People are a mess. They're like, I need a day. I need a day. The flight doesn't sound that hard. It's like, oh, it's brutal. I had to sit and watch 2 movies. I felt like I was being waterboarded. I need a day. It's flying back, 3,000 miles, 7 hours. We landed. The guy sitting next to me was like, that took too long. It used to take 6 weeks on a boat if you survived. That's how long it took Columbus to get from Spain to the Western Hemisphere. 6 weeks. But you know, once Columbus got here, it was like, I need a day. I am so boat-lagged. Give me a day and I'll get right down to murdering and plundering. Jim, don't bring up Columbus. You're too white. But Columbus, that's part of our history, right? Columbus ushered in all these people that came to the Western Hemisphere, and some of them did bad things. But humans have done bad things throughout the world. Like in Australia, the way some of the settlers treated the Aboriginals, it was not nice. It was not a g'day. In fact, it was a series of bad days or bidets. My kids were with me. In Amsterdam, I brought my kids to the Anne Frank house. I told some friends that, and they're like, aren't your kids a little young for the Anne Frank house? And you know what I learned? They are. They're too young. But I wanted to bring them. You know, it's an important place. I want them to learn. So I brought them. We were standing outside the Anne Frank house, and I said, this is a special, somber place. This is where Anne Frank, her family, and some friends hid from the Nazis for 2 years, and they couldn't speak during the day. And Anne also wrote this diary, so let's be respectful. My 6-year-old raised his hand, and he goes, do they have video games here? And I said, I'm going to need you to be quiet for the rest of your life. Bought tickets online to the Anne Frank house. I Googled it.
The Anne Frank house has a Google rating of 4.4 out of 5 stars. Who's giving the Anne Frank house a bad review? It's like, yeah, wasn't that fun? It's kind of crowded, and there were no video games. Why do we feel the need to review everything? Nobody's going to Anne Frank's house looking for hot dogs. I misread it. I thought it was Anne Frank's house. I was getting ready to have me an Amsterdam dog. East of Quebec is New Brunswick, right? New Brunswick in the Maritimes, that's the home of the Acadians, right? The Acadians, those noble, brave people that the English kicked out of during the Great Expulsion. They kicked them out of the Maritimes and they sent some of them to Louisiana, some of them to the West Indies, and a brave amount of few fought their way back to return to the coldest place on earth. But there's like 1 million French speakers in New Brunswick, so there's 1 in 5 Canadians speaks French. So there was this great compromise where the English speakers agreed to take French in school, and the French speakers agreed to continue speaking French. Of course, there are Canadians who speak English and French, and they're called flight attendants. Spanish, of course, had this great empire, right? Right near in Barcelona is where Columbus left, right? The Columbus, made a deal with King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. He's like, I'm gonna find a shorter way to India, and he got lost, and he found the Western Hemisphere. So he's a hero. And I gave him a statue where he's pointing the wrong way. As a result, the Spanish colonized half of the Western Hemisphere, right? They went there and they found all the gold and they brought it back, which brings up the question, what'd you guys do with all the gold? Because I've been all around Spain. I don't see any gold. I don't even see things you could buy with gold. What happened to the gold? I want to know. But everything starts later in Spain. Meals, shows, democracy. Everything starts later, right? Everything starts later. Because, of course, there was the Spanish Civil War, which is a funny topic. No, the Spanish Civil War, and I wanted to learn more about it, so I watched some YouTube videos. And now I understand less. But I do know the fascist one, Franco, won, and he ruled over Spain for decades, Franco. And of course, he had a son named James Franco, who directed that movie, The Disaster Artist, but he cast his brother Dave because Spain's all about family. And Franco, someone told me Franco only had 1 testicle. I don't know if that's true. I didn't want to Google it. I didn't want to get all those 1 testicle ads. So, you might be interested in these 1 testicle underwear. I didn't want that. Supposedly Hitler only had 1 testicle. Everyone has that friend that brings that up like it explains something. Hitler, he only had 1 testicle. Oh, that's why he did those horrible things. We got to keep an eye on Lance Armstrong. I'm sorry, is Lance here? Besides, I can say that joke because I only have 1 testicle. Well, from certain angles, That's disgusting. I thought he was the clean comedian. I thought he was. Of course, a Catholic country here, In Valencia, I saw the Holy Grail. Well, maybe, right? It's possibly the cup that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper, but probably not. And there are supposedly there's 2 other cups that are possibly cups that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper, but probably not. In fact, I have a cup at home.
that Jesus possibly drank from, but probably not. It's a sippy cup, so it was probably like baby Jesus. This guy's a jerk. He's just rude. Love performing in Asia. Didn't do a show in Mongolia. That's a disappointment. Those Mongolians, they really slacked off, right? Such a force for like thousands of years. It's such a threat. Those Mongolians are coming. The Mongolians are coming. Build a wall, build a wall. The Mongolians are coming. Now they're like, we like horses. I like to ride horses. Such a cultural shift. Genghis Khan is coming. He's gonna conquer the world. Now they're like, I want to open a buffet. That's what I'm into. Such a different generation.